Welcome to the Alaskan Journey podcast. My name is Jamin. I'm your first friend in Alaska. The purpose of this podcast is to answer the questions of what it's like living in Alaska from the perspective of people who do actually live here. And today we're very lucky to be joined by a friend of mine, and he's lived here for years at this point. And if you've watched this for any amount of time, you know we don't really talk about hunting very much. But today we are going to break that trend, and we're going to jump into it. So, Jacob, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, for sure.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and start just at the 30,000-foot view. What got you to Alaska, and how long have you been here?
Well, I was 19, looking for next phase of my life, and honestly, the one thing about me is I'm a huge outdoorsman from Michigan. I wanted to hunt and fish. I said either Maine or Alaska, and I just kind of showed up to Alaska. That was 14 years ago.
And time really does fly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what were those first couple of years like for you?
It was crazy. I mean, I knew nobody coming up here. Kind of lived in a little trailer outside of a shop. And when I say a trailer, it was literally just like a snow machine enclosed trailer. So that was pretty interesting. So
Jesus, maybe we should talk about that. Like, what? How did this come about?
Yeah, so I just knew a guy who said, you can have a job. Said, okay, and I flew up here with 2 duffel bags and $25. And he's like, I got a place for you to stay, and it was literally an enclosed snow machine trailer. It did have like a little kitchenette that wasn't really functional. And that was my home for the next 3 months, between April, May, and June. And that was my start. 2 duffel bags and $25.
Hey, so I mean, that's a pretty solid start there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I've talked to anyone that's quite had that, that experience before. So yeah, that's awesome. So got up here, like, was the winter or anything like that? Was that, I mean, you're coming in from Michigan, so I couldn't have been that big of an adjustment for you, was it?
It was mid-April. Most of the snow was gone. Of course, there was snow on the mountains, and the mountains were huge. I mean, I've never been anywhere where there was mountains, so that was just awe-inspiring in itself every day to kind of wake up on South Side and look up at Flat Top and O'Malley up there. The weather was cold. It was cold. In an unheated little trailer, it gets cold at night in April. But honestly, it was the light was the biggest thing about it, the biggest difference. And I mean, it was just crazy starting rolling into May and June. And as a young 19-year-old, you didn't have to sleep. So I was exploring 24/7, it seemed like. So.
Yeah. Did you have any like things you really liked doing, like as soon as you got here?
Well, honestly, I was just working kind of heavily when I first got here.
Just making ends meet.
Yeah. I was fortunate that my employer, he owned an 80-foot research vessel, and it was up in Nome, Alaska. So for about 4 weeks in June, it was actually, end of June and July, flew up to Nome, and I was an able-bodied seaman on that boat for 4 weeks up in Nome. So that was super cool in itself. So that was kind of like my first year's, I guess, fun, if you would say. Other than that, it was just trying to survive, trying to find a place to live, get a car, go through the steps of being an adult.
Yeah. Try not to work 60 hours in a week anymore.
Right. I mean, yeah. It was full first time you're adulting, essentially.
Yeah. No, I certainly do get that.
Yeah.
So with the hunting then, like, what have you gotten into up here, and like, what did you do back in Michigan?
So growing up in Michigan, we grew up on farms, whitetail hunting, turkey hunting, even though I wasn't good at that, but turkey hunting, squirrel hunting, it was just pretty much hunting was right out your back door in Michigan. And they say that with Alaska, but that's not necessarily the case. Hunting is more of a, thought out process. It's not like you just walk outside and see an animal that you can hunt. I've been fortunate. I have my bucket list of animals. So I've been fortunate to shoot multiple caribou, a brown bear, black bear, Dall sheep, and, various of small game.
So you've actually gotten a sheep before.
I have. Yes.
Nice. So real quick, kind of explain to people like what's so unique about the hunt with each one of these animals. Because, I mean, all of those is just like, I feel like its own like little subculture within hunting in and of itself. So kind of explain to people what's the uniqueness of each one of those hunts.
I mean, I'll start off with my first hunt was caribou. And I couldn't, that was just like a weekend thing. I left Anchorage, drove up to Paxton, up to McLaren Summit is actually the area if you want to look it up. So it's about a 5-hour drive, 6-hour drive up there.
And just so you know, we're going to need like very specific coordinates.
Okay.
We're going to need like the exact hunting spot here. Like we're spilling the beans today.
That's all right. That's the one thing I learned about caribou real quick. It doesn't matter. Coordinates mean nothing on a caribou hunt.
They move so much.
And they don't stop moving. So it's like you can sit there for a week and it's literally feast or famine. They're either there or they're not. And when they're there, they're there. So we were fortunate to get up there and we shot a couple of caribou, and that was a lot of fun. I think caribou, out of all hunting in Alaska, I think caribou is my most favorite. There's a very normally I say it's a dumb animal, but it's really not that dumb. It's very inquisitive. So when it sees you, it wants to know what you are. So a lot of times it comes to you. That's a joy of it. And there's just something that, it's a hunt that when you see it, you have a limited opportunity. They're moving. They don't sit still for nothing. They're running by you, and that's just how they move. So it's kind of like one of those, like, you get to run after them, you get to chase them down, you get to hide, and it's just a really fun hunt.
Yeah, but it's almost always like a moving target that you're trying to hit, though.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a couple that I shot that were just laid down and went to sleep. And then you get up close enough to them within 50 yards and they see you and they stand up and they come walking towards you. And then that's when you shoot them at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, they are very inquisitive. If they don't know what you are, they're going to come figure you out.
It's like trusting to a fault. Honestly,
exactly.
that's on them.
Exactly. So, caribou, that's probably my most favorite thing to hunt. Unfortunately, it's been harder and harder to find caribou to hunt in the state.
Is that like the population getting smaller? Or is that just like the game management areas? Or
I mean, it's very controversial, but essentially there's not as many caribou as there used to be. Some people can say it's, managed poorly as far as the herd management goes. Other people say it's winter kill, but there's a lot of like speculation. All I know is that the caribou numbers are just not there anymore. And as far as management goes, you have to ensure that you don't overharvest. And so they've just shut the hunts down.
Oh.
So pretty much the Nelchina herd's been shut down for years, 2 or 3 years now. 40-mile herd this year, they only allowed 367 caribou to be harvested, and out of that, only like 196 were. So
what's the 40-mile herd?
40-mile herd is the herd that kind of frequents north of Fairbanks towards like Chicken and Toke and into Canada.
Okay.
So it kind of goes from like the Steese Highway to the Taylor Highway to Top of the World Highway.
Gotcha.
In that realm.
Gotcha. Man, I didn't realize like it was. I just kind of assumed the caribou were just like, I don't know, the buffalo herd. That just never goes away until, well, I guess it did go away. So there you go.
They're extremely prevalent off of the road systems. The herds that exist off of the main road systems are extremely prevalent because they're not being hunted as hard. You still have to go to the North Slope, tons of caribou. Problem is it's all the way up on the North Slope. Either got to fly or drive for days and, more money.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you say like caribou is like a really good, for lack of a better word, an entry level big game hunt in Alaska? Okay.
100%. If I'm going to put you on an animal to hunt first in Alaska, that's big game, it's caribou. As long as you get your timing right and you can be in with the herd when they're there, you're going to have a huge success rate. That's the hardest thing is just finding the herd.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, I've played like big game hunter a lot, so I'm pretty sure I can go to like Kodiak and
Right.
get a Kodiak over there.
Right.
What kind of gear do you use for like a hunt like that? I know there's like there's a spectrum, right? Like you can do like, I don't know, spin, like it's a bottomless pit and how much you could spend, but let's say on the low end, and then like if you just wanted to have like, you know, the gold studded rims option where money isn't a thing, like what would you say are the numbers you're probably looking at in the gear?
Oh, I'm just going to say I'm not sponsored by anybody here. One of the things I actually did for 9 years when I first moved up here is I worked for a local outfitter up here, a retail outfitter in the sporting world. So I sold anything from clothing to guns to gear. So I'm actually pretty versed in that one. You can do it in a Carhartt and a jacket and just your jeans. Just like anywhere else, you can do it in your flannel. Fred Bear, he shot more animals with his bow and a flannel than he did camo ever. Nowadays, everything, it's about quality of gear. You can spend all the way up to the Sitka, Kafaru, or Kuyu level gear, $300, $400, $500 a jacket. And it's just, the biggest thing about that up here is you just want good rain gear.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I mean, you've lived here long enough to know when it starts to rain, it doesn't stop. You want good rain gear. Other than that, your base layers, if you don't want to smell, wool. If you're going on a sheep hunt for 5, 7, 8 days, definitely wear some wool. Your hunting partner will appreciate that for sure. It definitely helps with the odor. But I'd say the biggest thing with that is just getting a decent pair of rain gear. Gore-Tex level, Kuyu level rain gear will just make any hunt so much better.
Yeah. And do you need like I mean, we're looking at caribou here. Do you need to have like any special like ATVs and all that, or how does that work?
It all depends on where you're hunting. Where I used to hunt up there on Denali Highway near Paxton, they actually have sectioned off a giant corridor called the walk-in only hunt, non-motorized vehicle. So you're not allowed to have an ATV. You can have a bicycle as long as it doesn't have an electronic motor. But that whole area is just sectioned off for people who just want to walk in and shoot a caribou. If you're doing that, you need a good backpack. I will say that, which is how I've done most of my hunting is off my back. But you definitely want a good pack frame and be prepared to make multiple trips in and out carrying 100 pounds minimum.
How much meat do you get off of like a caribou?
Depending on the caribou. I've had caribou that I've gotten 300 pounds of meat. I have cleaned people's caribou that I've gotten 26 pounds of meat. So, I mean, it all depends on what happens.
Were y'all shooting Bambi out there? Like, what's going on?
It may have been somebody who had tundra vision and didn't realize what they were shooting at, but like it was a very tender caribou. But yeah, the females, you're right around 160 pounds, 100 pounds. Males, a herd bull can get up to like 400 pounds of meat. They're big animals.
Gotcha. So, if you're going to be doing the walking thing, just know you're going to be putting in the time. And how many miles, I guess, in and out did you do when you did that?
The caribou, I always shot them within 3 miles of the highway.
Okay.
Yep. Unfortunately, it was uphill both ways.
Of course.
That's how a mountain works. But it was always within 3 miles of the highway, so 6 to 12 miles. And it depends how many people you go with. If you go with 3 people and you shoot a caribou, it's one load a person and you're out.
Yeah.
Now, if you go with 3 people and shoot 3 caribou, that's 3 loads back and forth. So, caribou, I definitely feel like hunt with a group, right? 2 to 3 is a good number for caribou for sure.
And how do you go about like getting into it like up here? Like, would you say like the hunting community is pretty open to like just somebody who's just never done it before, just approaching and saying, "Hey, can I tag along?" Like, or is it tough to break into?
That is a great question, and that's a question I've struggled with for years. Is trying to find that hunting partner, right? I would say if you're just moving up to Alaska and you want to figure out hunting, your residency starts after 12 months for hunting privileges. So for that first 12 months, you don't have, unless you're paying out-of-state wages or out-of-state fees,
Right.
you are pretty much not hunting. So what I've always told people and what I did was be a Sherpa. Find somebody out there that may be going caribou hunting, maybe going moose hunting, and just volunteer your time and your back to help haul that meat out. Be that guy who just brings that meat back to camp. They're going to show you where to go. They're going to show you where to go. They're going to show you how to do it, and you're helping them in the long run. You may not get some meat out of it. Maybe you will, but at least, you get that experience. That way you're not going out there for the first time with a tag and just trying to figure something out.
Elmer Fudd style,
right.
just.
It's almost like apprenticing, right? You start off bottom man on the totem pole. You're there with a backpack, and you're there to be a strong back.
Yeah. Well, no,
But as far as the hunting community goes, and you probably know this, you don't have to look far to find somebody who hunts up here. It's just diving into your local, wherever your community is, whether that be your local church, workplace. A lot of people come up here with military. There's usually people that are year 4 to 6 up here in the military that might be PCSing out here pretty soon, and they're going to share their knowledge, gear, whatever, with the next generation that comes up.
Right.
It's just being willing to put in the hard work first before you get the fun work.
Absolutely. Can you do me a favor real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Can you move your mic a little bit closer?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I think that is good right there. I will just edit that out.
Cool.
Well, outstanding. So once you get up here, you get established with the community and everything. How difficult is it to go from like hunting caribou to like hunting some other type of animal? Does everyone kind of do everything, or do you have some people where it's like, I'm a sheep guy and that's like all they ever do? Like,
oh no, you definitely have species hunters. I would say, as much as I love caribou, I'm definitely not a caribou hunter. It's just my favorite thing to do. But you definitely have guys that they hunt sheep. That's what they do every year. They're flying in, they're hunting sheep, they're hiking 50, 60 miles in the mountains to look for a sheep, and that's what they do. And then you definitely have a lot of moose hunters. And I got to experience my first moose hunt this year. May not be for me, but it was definitely in a different style of hunting. And then you have people who hunt from a boat, you have people who hunt from backpack, and then you have people who hunt from ATV. So each species and each way to harvest each species changes the hunter completely. So I definitely say the most, so far the hardest hunt is sheep, for sure. That takes a lot of mental strength, for sure.
yeah, that's really, I've read books. So I've heard like the sheep hunting is probably like one of the more challenging things out there. Like if you hear about fatalities with hunters, like almost always it seems like it's with sheep.
Yeah.
Just with the cliffs and just the challenging conditions up there. But how did that first moose hunt go?
It was boring. It was boring. 8 days out in the tundra, looking at the same trees for 8 days, seeing a couple, and then seeing a couple female moose, and then we did see a big bull, but of course it's 2 miles away, 15 minutes before dark, and never saw him again. If you like camping, you might be a moose hunter. Because it's definitely moose hunting. It's definitely moose camp. It's about the camp.
Right.
It's about who you go with. It's about what you do after dark, the community you have there. It's definitely a patience hunting style where you sit down, be quiet, and wait for days. Right? It's the only hunt I've ever been on where I gained weight, and thanks to my hunting partner bringing a ton of ribeyes. So every day we were eating ribeye. But like, it was just kind of, it was my least favorite just because it was my least challenging.
Yeah.
Mentally. It was great for the soul though. Got to do a lot of meditating, thinking, it was quiet.
Yeah.
So it's not something that most people have the opportunity to do anymore, is just sit there for a week and, do nothing.
Yeah, that's. I think that would probably be the main challenge right there. I think wouldn't surprise me if you saw some people like almost having like withdrawal like symptoms, just not having the access to the internet and everything else out there.
And then we didn't harvest a moose this trip, but I do know that the work begins after you pull the trigger.
Yeah,
on a moose. Like, you do not want to shoot a moose a mile away from camp, wherever that may be, transportation. And you definitely do not want to shoot a moose in the water.
Yeah. I saw some pictures this year on Facebook, and I was like, okay, even I think that looks like that's going to be excessively difficult.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So what would you say has been like the most difficult hunt you've had so far?
It's definitely been my sheep hunt, for sure. It was 8 days. I think I calculated 56 miles on foot. I was successful, which is a huge thing, but it was definitely mentally challenging.
Yeah. Where did you go?
I drew for the Delta Control Use Area, so DS-203. I drew for the non-motorized. So couldn't even take the truck off the highway parking lot, essentially. So we crossed the Delta River and went back up into the Black Rapids Glacier area. So just even crossing the Delta is a feat in itself, and then hiking back into where the sheep actually were.
How deep is the water on the Delta?
I don't know, thankfully.
Okay.
We did carry a cataract about 2 miles down and then floated across the Delta.
Okay. For some reason, I pictured you just like, oh, no.
No.
Davy Crockett style, just walking across the river.
It's a very dirty, silty river.
Fast moving.
Yeah,
probably.
so I have no idea how deep it is, and I really didn't care to know. I just knew how deep it was when you hit the shore. So
that is fair. What was the weather like once you got there?
That trip, which is actually abnormal for sheep hunting, it was warm. It was like during the days it would get up to 70 degrees. At nights it would get down to 50. So the hardest thing for us wasn't actually the weather. It was, I guess, the exhaustion, the dehydration, because it is so warm. One thing you don't realize is those mountains carry very little water. And everything you're going in with is on your back. So you're not going in with gallons of water. So you got to constantly kind of know where your next water source is. Because you can't cook without it. You can't survive without it. But you always kind of need to know where you're going to fill up next.
Yeah. I'm assuming you're bringing in like your own tent and all that. I can't imagine they've got cabins or anything like that waiting for you there.
Nope. You're pretty much, the clothes that you bring in are the clothes on your body, maybe some extra, socks, underwear, rain gear. And then you're bringing in your sleeping bag, your tent, if you choose to have a tent, and all your food and all your hunting gear is all on your back coming in.
So how much like climbing did you do while you were there? Because, I mean, I've heard like insane elevation gains and drops like through all of that. I mean, you say like hiked 50 some miles, but really I think it's the elevation gains that put in the most work. So do you have any idea like how much climbing you did?
I think I was probably 2,000 feet a day. I would climb, ascend and descend.
Yeah.
I was a novice at this when I did it, obviously. So I took two of my brothers, my dad and my uncle, and we kind of made a base camp at the near Black Rapids River. So every day I would ascend a different draw or a different mountain to go look for the sheep with one of them, and then I'd come back down to base camp that night, and then I'd take a different one of them up the next day. So I got the pleasure of going up and down constantly while they had to only do it one time. I will never do that again. there's no such thing as base camp. I don't believe in sheep hunting, and I will not base camp. I'll take a tarp if I need to, and we'll go straight on back until I harvest the sheep, and then turn around and go straight back to the truck.
Is that a strategy that a lot of the sheep hunters use?
Yes.
Okay.
So a lot of sheep hunters, they either have like you call it stargazer tents, or a lot of them just have bivvies over their sleeping bags, and they're not even tenting it up. They're just sleeping in a shell of a sleeping bag. But they're just going to constantly keep moving until they find that legal ram.
Gotcha.
So,
and once you finally like actually saw it, like what was that moment like? Sounds after you spend so much time and effort on it, it seems like it'd feel kind of high stakes once you get to that point.
so it was day 6 before we saw our first legal rams. The ones that we saw, we had to hike up this old dry riverbed, and they were up there feeding on a meadow. Me and my brother Jordan, and we were exhausted, obviously. But then once you see the sheep, at least for me, got a second wind. That's when the adrenaline started going. We found the one we were going to go after, and I went after it. I didn't realize how fast I was going because I started descending the backside of the mountain with my brother, and God, it felt like I was watching this, and I got to the top, laid down, and it felt like I was watching the sheep for 2 hours. I never saw my brother. So he was lagging way behind.
Just dropped him.
He may have found some blueberries or something. I don't know where he was, but got to lay down, see the sheep about 200 yards away, and the hard part was judging the full curl. Very, very difficult. Judging to see if that is a full curl, because their horns have to make it from the base all the way back around to the base. There's 3 ways to tell a legal ram. The first one is full curl. So it has to come all the way around and go past the base of their horn. That's one way. The other way is to tell if they're 8 years of age or older. You tell that by on the horns, there'll actually be lines because their horns stop growing in the winter months.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So you have to have like a very clear view and be able to count each one of those like a tree, rings on a tree.
Yeah, but how many people are close enough to tell that way? Maybe a bow hunter, maybe?
It's very hard.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it when I was there. I could not, and it was a very dark horned sheep, so I could not do that. And then the third way is to see if both of their horns are broomed. So if they're broken at the tips, sometimes they'll break off their lamb tip. The sheep I shot was not broke off, but there was one up there that double broom is what they call it. And that would be a legal sheep because there's no way to actually
verify it.
Yeah, exactly. So after watching it for 45, I don't know. I lost track of time because obviously it felt like 2 hours, but my brother was still trying to come up the mountain. It was started at 250 yards away and came up into 50 yards away. So we were very close and personal. I was just laying there. I remember laying on my stomach, looking up through my binoculars, and it turned away. And I was like, oh, perfect time to stretch my neck, right? And I look up like this, and about 10 feet above me was another sheep.
Oh, shoot.
And it's just looking at me like, because it didn't know I was there. I didn't know it was there. And so I got busted. So at that point, I made the executive decision to shoot the sheep that I was after before it started running away. But it was pretty cool. It dropped and then it fell down a draw. So the climbing, that was the hardest part, I think, was the draw because it was a shale cliff.
Oh, geez.
My brother did show up after he heard the gunshots. Maybe he started running. I don't know. He just showed up after the gunshot. We had to actually tie rope to ourselves and guide each other down the shale to get the sheep.
Yeah.
That was the challenge part of that one.
And for people who don't know, can you describe what shale is?
Oh, that's hard. It is a very steep cliff, and the rock is as loose can be.
Yep.
It's like walking on a thing of marbles or gravel. Like the minute you start sliding, there's no stopping.
Yeah, and usually it breaks off and it's really sharp, jagged, knife-like little shards that it breaks off in. So
exactly. So one person, you'd have the ropes. I've been told this isn't the way to do it, but it worked for us. I'm gonna say that, so I'm not saying this is the best way to do it. But we'd tie the ropes to our waist, and one person would take their sticks and they'd post up in some firm shale, and the other person would start to descend. That way, if they slid, just that simple tension of that rope would allow you to be able to stop and get your footing again. They'd come down, next person would post up, and then you would go down that rock. It was pretty cool because we got down to it. You take your pictures. My brother had a white T-shirt on. I had a painter's suit because I'm going to say anything about hunting in Alaska, take a painter's suit with you. Keeps your clothes clean when you're cleaning the animal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they weigh nothing. Just keeps it clean. So I put my painter's suit on. We were cleaning the sheep, and all the sheep that were around us came back and bedded down around us within 100 yards because they thought we were sheep. White shirt, painter's suit, dead sheep, until the sun went down and our flashlights came on, and they all scattered. That was a cool night. That night we did realize what it's like to sleep right next to a glacier without a sleeping bag. I say sleep very
loosely.
There was no sleep. And then the next day we were able to get back to camp, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's quite the story, though. Yeah, and how many people get to say they've done that? So
right, not very many. Yeah, especially successfully.
Yeah, that's really the big thing. Yeah. So you've also had some hunts with bears as well, and I remember because this was the year that they had like that pretty like horrific bear attack. Like with the with that guy down the down the South Fork, down the the South Fork, and got attacked, like killed by this bear, and they found him. Like everyone was looking, like somebody, like it was like something from a, I mean, you remember it was like something from like a movie or something like that, where he like fell down the embankment. He looks over, and there's like, I'll let you explain it.
From how I understood the story, now this could be different, but a gentleman went missing on a trail, South Fork, for days, and they were looking for him for days. From my understanding, another gentleman who was looking for him was also attacked by said bear and dragged down into a pit.
Yeah.
In that pit, he looked over and he found the person he was looking for half buried, where the bear had buried him, because they bury their food so they can come back to it.
Yeah.
At that point, the bear left, right? And it was gone. That's pretty much it. The second guy who got attacked, he survived. I mean, and he unfortunately found what he was looking for, the first gentleman there. And that was it. They searched for a very long time for that bear. And as far as I know, they've never recovered that bear. That year is the year I drew a bear tag, DB 470, which is the Chugach brown bear permit. And that includes Peters Creek, Ship Creek, and Bird Creek.
Right.
So that's all behind Anchorage here, so it's real close to home. That year, I was able to harvest a female off of Bird Creek side, up in the mountains, and that was pretty cool. That was a one-day hunt. We went out on mountain bikes through the trails and then hiked up, and didn't expect to see anything, and ended up shooting a bear, and once again, not getting home till 2 a.m., working the next day. All fun stuff. But it was kind of cool because as we were skinning said bear, it was riddled with buckshot. Your knife would hit a piece of lead, and you'd pull out this buckshot. So that bear was very closely inspected by Fish and Game, and a lot of samples taken, if you would, just to kind of rule out if it was said bear that took him. And I never got a determination of that or not. So
yeah,
I also never asked.
Yeah. But I mean, also we haven't had, we had a bear attack like earlier on this season.
Right.
But I mean, it wasn't like fatal or anything.
We've had a couple maulings.
Yeah.
Not very many deaths lately.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's what we want. We want an equal balance between people and bear.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I will say, like, it's a little unnerving with having with it being so easy to go hunt bear, like right here close to like, where people live. Because you got to go like far away to find the little docile, curious caribou, and you got to go a long ways out to find the sheep. But the actual predator is like 30 minutes away.
And our population of brown bear and black bear right here in the Anchorage area, in the Anchorage Bowl as they call it, is very high.
Yeah.
We have lots of salmon that run. It keeps them full. And then we got lots of blueberries. And then there's a lot of sheep, actually. There's a lot of sheep and goat in this area and moose, and that keeps them fed in the spring. So
I guess that makes sense then.
Yeah.
What are some special considerations as you're hunting a bear then?
Well, the black bear is actually the one that took me the longest to shoot.
Really?
The most unsuccessful hunts I've ever had was on a black bear.
How come?
They're fast. They're smarter than I am sometimes, most of the time up there in the woods. And they're very hard to spot and stalk most of the time, unless you're at an equal altitude as they are. So if you're ever trying to climb up after a bear, it's not going to happen. They just know you're coming. They can hear you, have an awesome sense of smell. And what takes you an hour to walk across takes them 10 minutes to walk across, not even run. So here in Anchorage area, these mountains are very steep, a lot of foliage, very small windows of grass. So you'd see them up in the grass and you'd start your ascent on them. And by the time you pop up, I'll just tell you this. There's one time, me and my brother, same brother, on the sheep hunt, we were hunting the day before one of our softball games there, actually.
Good times.
We went all the way up on this mountain, and we sat there, and we saw a black bear. It was about 400 yards away in a clearing. And I'm like, we're going to go after it, right? It's too far to shoot. So we kind of busted some brush, came up over, and kind of snuck up, and we're like 150 yards away. And we popped up, and we like looked, and it's gone. We turn around, and same bear is literally smelling right where we were having for breakfast. He had already made it all the way around us, and he was back at that point where we had started. And so now I'm, frustrated. So I turn around, and it's still a little too far to shoot. So I'm trying to bust back through there, and I get all the way back, and I'm like, he's gone.
So he's literally running circles around.
He literally is running circles around me. So I go, I'm all frustrated now. It's like I shouldn't have moved. I made mistakes, whatever. So I sit back down, and I'm sitting there, and he popped. He came back up, and he popped back up where he was over here. We did this twice. Same thing. Went a different route, come back around. Here he comes, popping out on the back where he literally is just going circles around me. Granted, this is like a 500-yard area. It is definitely the same bear. The same white patch on its chest and everything. So people are like, oh, maybe it was two bears. Maybe, but no, it was just one
The
bear.
odds aren't good.
He knew I was there the entire time, and he knew his range of just where to be. Like I said, they're smarter than me sometimes, but it is one of those things with the black bear. I feel like the minute I harvested my first one, I don't like to eat the bear very much. The minute I harvest my black bear, put it on the wall, I'm like, cool, I don't really need another one. Now, anytime I go out, there's an opportunity to shoot one. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're everywhere. But
What do they taste like? Because I've heard a lot of people with not great feedback on the the meat on a bear just in general. So what's the consensus there?
Bear is great until you eat a bad bear, and then you don't ever want to eat another bear. What they call is a berry patch bear, something that's been eating grasses and berries only. Very, I don't know. It's definitely a dark meat. There's not much sweetness to it, but it's kind of a dark meat. It's kind of a venison feel. I don't really know how to explain it. It's okay. In my mind, it's okay. I've had a buddy of mine, he renders the fat down into oils. He cooks with it. It tastes pretty good. But then you get into a bear that's been eating salmon, and it tastes like a bear with a fish aftertaste, fish oil aftertaste. Like, Not sure if you take them now or if ever had to take the fish oil pills and, maybe not swallow it as quickly and you get that fish oil in your mouth. Yeah, that's the aftertaste. It's very gristly, very disgusting. And that's the bear that will ruin you on bear meat, because you'll never really get that taste or that out of your mouth. Anytime you eat a bear, it's going to remind you of that.
Yeah, there's only so much seasoning you can put on it.
Correct. Everybody always says they taste really good in sausage, but that's a lot of seasoning too.
Yeah, absolutely. So at this stage then, what would you say are kind of some bucket list hunts that you would like to still go do up here in Alaska?
My next one definitely is the mountain goat. I've been on many successful three unsuccessful mountain goat hunts.
What's the difference between a mountain sheep and mountain goat hunt? Is it just
good question?
Like one and the same, or like what's the difference?
They are a completely different animal.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Dall sheep are the ones like a bighorn sheep with the curls. Mountain goats have very long hair in the wintertime, and they have just 6 to 9 inch black spikes. The main difference is goats are runners, or goats are climbers, pardon me. If you ever look at a mountainside and go, I don't know how you would ever get to that point, how you would ever get my feet on that place, there's usually a goat sitting there. They just go on the craziest terrain, the outcroppings. You have no idea where they are. Well, sheep tend to frequent like the meadows. That's where they're eating. They're accessible for the most part. Goats are just usually in places that are not accessible, and you have to figure out how to make them accessible. Goats also only live within 50 miles of the ocean. So if you're ever in the interior and see something white on the mountain, it's a sheep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and they don't really play nice together. So they don't really frequent the same areas. So.
Gotcha.
But.
Sound like a crappy animal, honestly. Like a crappy one to hunt.
It is. So it's not necessarily the mileage that you put on for sheep on a goat. It's mainly you're usually in thick foliage, steep terrain, and you're just trying to figure out how to shoot one, and then worse, how to recover the one you shoot, because they do like to jump when you shoot them. And this is all coming from what I've learned, not experienced. I haven't got that experience in my life yet.
Yeah. Well, I'm rooting for you.
But yeah, definitely the goat is next. Next on my list. Moose is probably the last.
Yeah. So, because lots of patience and all that. So
certain animals don't. Everyone's got their little bucket list. Moose has just never really intrigued me that much.
Yeah. So, well, that's perfectly fair. Well, I think we could definitely talk for a couple more hours here,
sure.
But I think we better let you get going. But I do really appreciate you coming on here and kind of sharing your perspective and all that. For those of you who are watching, Jacob also is kind of the manager of Extreme Heating and Air here in the Eagle River Anchorage area. So once you get up here, or if you're here currently and you need someone to take care of your HVAC system, then we'll definitely have a link to Jacob's company's website in the description section down below. But
yeah, come in and see me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely talk some hunting.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But everyone else, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.